Hey everyone, welcome back to Integrative Psychonautics. My name is Dave, and today we're going to be discussing my personal opinion, not objective fact, about what I think is the right sequence of things to address if you're kind of coming to a situation where you want to do some sort of therapy or self-healing or personal transformation work, and you've kind of maybe your life's a mess or you're a mess and you have a lot of work to do in terms of healing and working on stuff. um, I do think there's kind of an order to what to address, in the sense that there's certain things you want to rule out and get right first before you move on to other things. So that's what this video is going to be about. It's a little more of a practical video where we're just talking about how do you start to heal and transform your life. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so like I said in the intro, it's my opinion, it's my experience as a hypnotherapist, as a coach, as someone who helps people change their lives, and works with, in the psychedelic context here, that there are certain things you want to kind of get right or rule out or address uh, in certain steps in order to really kind of maximize your well-being. And so I want to kind of lay out at least what those first kind of four pieces are. I do think as we get deeper into our self-healing journey, personal growth journey, it kind of opens up and becomes a little bit more of a smorgasbord of what do you want to focus on now, what needs tending to, what needs addressing. But if you're kind of new, or you've kind of got a lot going on and you're kind of maybe just suddenly like, boy, I need therapy, I've been a mess, psychedelics look great, I'd like to do psychedelic therapy, and I've got a lot going on and I don't know what my issue really is. If you're in that kind of place, I'd love for you to at very least just consider what I have to say in this video, because it might really help you and save you some time, and kind of set some things right for you. So these are what I think are generally the steps that people need in the order that they need them first. So without further ado, the first one here is going to be addressing physical and lifestyle issues. Okay, so this one might seem a little bit obvious to some of you. For others, and often for people who tend to have a lot of trauma and are coming from a background of just generally maybe not thriving in life, being dysfunctional, having a lot of kind of low quality coping habits that we've developed. And believe me, I've been there. I get it. It took me a long time to get this area of my life squared up. And it can always be improved. I don't mean to be like put a lot of pressure on you, but the first place you really want to look to start to work on your mental health, your emotional health, is going to be your physical lifestyle choices, and just generally your physical health. This is something you really want to control for first before you get into therapy and start doing therapeutic stuff. Because what if some of the therapeutic issues that you have are driven by physical lifestyle problems, right? So, just really broadly, obviously, as human beings, we are built in an evolutionary context of thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of years of being hunter gatherers and nomads, and moving a lot, and being exposed to the elements a lot, and eating fresh, organic, real, whole foods a lot. And we are not really built for the current modern lifestyle, right? We're just not. We're not adapted to it. It's not what our biology is organized around. And so often this presents problems for us, right? Whether you're talking diet issues, exercise issues, sleep issues, and those are really kind of honestly the big three right there. I'm trying to think. I mean, there's other stuff in terms of like obviously online time, addictions to food, alcohol, pornography, um, not socializing enough, because that's another biological need we have. Um, these are all things that I consider your biggest bang for your buck if you can control them first, get them right first. Often, a lot of people's kind of, neurotic, anxious, depressed, general malaise, not doing well kind of thing that we see so prevalently, especially in young people in our society, a lot of that boils down to lifestyle shit that's just not on point, like a lot. And I know it was true for me. And I know it's true for a lot of people I know. Cleaning up your diet is a game changer. Because again, what if your depression isn't caused by something that happened in your childhood or isn't caused by the last breakup you had, but really is driven, and 80% of it comes from your gut flora being out of balance or chronic inflammation in the body from a poor diet. And if you clean up your diet, suddenly your depression goes from being an 8 to being a 3 or a 2, right? Like, isn't that, if that's what you're struggling with, like an obvious place to start, right? What if your anxiety can be massively brought down by exercising regularly, by walking 10,000 steps a day, by lifting heavy things regularly, by getting out of breath, by sweating, by being physically engaged and using this beautiful body that we have? Um, what if, you're not sleeping properly and you don't know it? Your screen exposure, no eye shades, not dark enough, you have sleep apnea, you don't know it. And that's massively impacting the way you feel throughout the day. And you have a hard time regulating your mood. You have a hard time focusing. You have a hard time feeling emotionally like full of well-being. And it just boils down to like crappy sleep. Like, if you could fix that first, you should. Because if you, again, it's like if you're looking in the wrong place for the solution, you're not going to find it, right? So that's the first thing that I think you should really kind of work at, get right, get dialed in before you get serious about therapy, even if you know you come from a background of trauma, because a couple things. First of all, it's going to ground you. It's going to stabilize you. It's going to give you a more secure foundation for your life if you're taking care of your physical health and just generally managing your lifestyle into something that's balanced and healthy. It's going to give you a nice base to work from if you have to do therapy, Also, again, you may have trauma to work out, but if 40% of that, of what you're dealing with is from your lifestyle stuff, or 60% of it, or even 30% of it, it's worth getting that knocked out of the way so that you can get a clearer picture of what's really happening in you, in your beautiful body, your beautiful nervous system, with all of those factors ruled out, right? So the first thing I'm a huge fan of here, get your lifestyle stuff sorted out first. And, I'm not really a guru on any of this, but YouTube, obviously, here we are. It's a wonderful resource, chock full of great stuff about diet and exercise and da 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 da. So, pick what works for you, but I would recommend starting there. Okay, so let's assume you've got the lifestyle stuff sorted out, stable, you're doing good with that. Still have stuff to work out, still have issues to heal, still have things to transform. Here's the next place I'd look. This is a very common place. I don't want to say everybody because nothing's true all the time. This is a very common place, though, where people are stuck with issues, and they go to a therapist or they go to a coach like me or someone, and they're like, help me with, my problem, and this is their blind spot that needs addressing first. And it's really addressing self-judgment and self-frustration, your inner critic, if you want to think of it that way, or resistance that you have around having whatever problem you have. So the shame, the self-judgment, the irritation at having the problem at all in the first place, the guilt, the sadness, all that stuff where you're in internal conflict, where you're like, why do I have this problem? Or I can't believe I still have this problem, or I hate that I have this problem, or I'm mad at myself, or any combination of these feelings. You want to handle that first, because it's really hard to do transformational work, to do therapeutic, growth edge, like really blossoming, really moving and shifting when you have internal conflict. And again, this is super common. I see this all the time, this kind of space of self-judgment. Now, there are tools you can use out there. I am a big fan of parts work for resolving this kind of stuff. One form of parts work, which pluses and minuses, I'll do another video on it, is IFS, Internal Family Systems. Probably not what you're thinking. If you hear a title like that, you've never learned about IFS. It actually has to do with the different parts of our personality and how they work together as a system or don't. And so addressing inner conflicts between different aspects of our personality, our being, however you want to think of it, is really key. Because if we are fighting ourselves internally at an unconscious level or even a semi-conscious level, and in self-judgment, self-conflict, we are not operating as a whole unified system, let's say, that is moving in the same direction, then that's really going to make it hard to change, right? And so it's really, really important to, to start to get this handled and to really get to a place where you are in self-empathy, self-respect, self-acceptance, self-appreciation, even for the different parts of you, including the parts of you that may be carrying the problem or displaying whatever the dysfunctional thing is that you want to address. So, if it's depression or anxiety, you want to be able to end up in a place where you understand the part of you that has depression and why it's there, and you have a loving relationship to it, a respectful, appreciating relationship to it. And I know that sounds a little crazy. Why would you love and appreciate the part of you that's depressed, or the part of you that's anxious, or the part of you that is doing whatever the problem is in your life? But this is really what you need to work on first to really have smooth, easy progress forward when it comes to more transformational work. I'll do more videos about this topic, but yeah, I just want to leave it there for you. That's really where most people are stuck, especially when they come to me. That's usually the first place we have to kind of work. And so I just thought I'd put that out there for you so that you know that that's probably the first thing you need to start to overcome if you're going to do any sort of therapeutic personal transformation work. So let's talk about the next one. Okay, so the next one on the list, actually the next two, I kind of think of as being potentially interchangeable between each other. In other words, you could go from overcoming resistance, resolving resistance, to either of these, and it would probably work pretty well. But between the two, I kind of like this one first, just because I think it tends to work a little bit better. And that would be to start to work on resourcing. So the next step in my mind, once you've kind of resolved resistance and come into a place of internal alignment and internal self-respect, self-understanding, allowance of the part of you that is carrying whatever the issue or the problem is, the next thing that's really going to help you after that is developing a vocabulary of resource states. Now, a lot of people, generally, we all already have resource states. It's just that we're not accessing them often enough. But also, I would say in our society in general, we kind of have a thing where people are really good at feeling bad. They're really good at using the neurology or exercising the muscle, if you want to use that metaphor, of the problem, and not so good at exercising the muscle of feeling good, of feeling resourced, of feeling connected, of feeling some sort of positive feeling that kind of helps empower you to address the problem and feel comfortable or strong or safe to do so, right? So generally, I think this is really, really helpful for people to focus on next, is developing your capacity for joy, well-being, peace, your ability to observe yourself without getting caught up in the drama, curiosity, open-mindedness, self-acceptance, playfulness, what are the other resource states? Bliss, ecstasy, spiritual oneness, of course, love, compassion, kindness. I think I said curiosity already. What are some other ones? Willingness. Just a willingness to engage yourself and explore the experience you're having. These are just some examples of what is really a wide palette, a wide variety of different resource states that I think you want to have in place. Ultimately, one of the major things we need in order to heal, especially if we're doing trauma work, is to feel safe, to increase our experience of safety in our own skin, right? And what do we need in order to feel safe? Generally, assuming our external circumstances are safe, and if they're not, that goes back into lifestyle and handle that first, please, by all means. But assuming that our external circumstances are safe enough, generally, then we need some connection to some sort of a resource state inside of ourselves to start to feel safe. And the more we can access that resource, particularly while we're doing therapeutic work, healing work, personal growth work, the better, right? So if you are able to bring your ability to witness yourself, your ability to have empathy and compassion for yourself, your ability to love whatever it is that comes up for you, your ability to remain curious, your ability to feel spiritually connected, even though you're working with maybe some aspects of yourself that need a little healing and a little attention and TLC, that's going to really support you and go a really long way towards your ability to effectively do the work. So resourcing, I think, is a must in general. And truth be told, punchline on therapeutic work and transformational work, it really is all about bringing a resource state to the problem state and connecting the dots between the two inside our body, inside our nervous system. And when that really powerful, well-owned resource connects to the problem will transform. So developing resources then is kind of developing our arsenal of self-transformative abilities, if you want to think of it that way. So this is huge. This is important. And oddly enough, in a lot of forms of therapy, especially more traditional forms of therapy, this is something that's kind of overlooked. There's this emphasis on the therapist being the resource for you and the therapeutic relationship being the resource for you. And there's this emphasis on just going after the problem and really a focus on a pathology orientation, a way of thinking about issues that leans heavily into this model of belief in a problem, right? And so it's almost a blind spot in traditional therapy to think in terms of resources. Although that's not true across the board, there are a lot of, this is a term from, therapeutic language. So clearly that's not totally true, but it's a trend you'll see if you look at a lot of different forms of therapy and the way therapists think. And so, this is a place you really want to work. This is a thing you want to get good at, is feeling good. Again, you want to be as strong at that, at least as you are at feeling bad, if not stronger. So that would be the next step after, lifestyle, resistance, resourcing. And then let's talk about the fourth. Okay, and the fourth one that I want to address here is attachment work. Now, when I say attachment work, this is a specific type of therapeutic work that revolves around attachment theory. I'll be doing a video about that shortly here for you guys. But long story short, for a lot of us, a lot of the issues that we have, the kind of bottom of the barrel, the thing that we really need to address, that is the filter through which we are perceiving and generating and acting from, that's creating most of these problems we're experiencing, is our wounded sense of attachment. So really quickly, what attachment is, if you've never heard of it, is that the human nervous system, as we have developed it through evolution and as we are growing up as little children, is designed as part of its survival strategy to make connections to safe people around us, because obviously as babies, we're super vulnerable. And so we have this system in our brain, in our body, in our nervous system called the attachment system, and it's designed around connections. And its whole thing is creating safe connections. When we have healthy, safe connections, that becomes a resource that helps us to feel regulated, calm, protected, safe, all those wonderful things that kind of fill up our emotional cup, our sense of well-being. And it's just so crucially important. And so much of what's wrong in a therapeutic sense for us when we need to heal, when there's an issue, boils down, not all of it, definitely not all of it, but often there's a significant piece of wounding to our attachment system. And so this is really the work a big chunk of the time. If someone, is like, I need to heal, I need to transform my life. Why do I have social anxiety? Why do I have, fear of abandonment? Why do I have, why am I always rejecting people and running away from love? Why am I, avoidant of all the difficult things I need to do in my life? Da, 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 da. All of these patterns that are super common that you see in personal development, you see in therapy, they really revolve around attachment wounds, which is all very early childhood stuff. And so, again, I do think this is kind of interchangeable with resourcing. Like sometimes after working out the resistance, you just want to start to address the attachment stuff. It's generally deep in there. These are filters and early learnings in the implicit memory, meaning it's not conscious, that's kind of built in and baked into our sense of self and our sense of relationship and sense of other and sense of world. And it can be very deep work. It can be very sad work. It can be triggering work at times. It's the real deal. It's the real fucking or not psychedelic, but psychotherapeutic work. And so, I just want to encourage you to be aware of it, first of all, and to be aware that that's probably something that you're going to want to address because it really shapes your experience of your entire life, first of all. But second of all, more specifically, it shapes and informs and is a huge part of probably whatever issue, whether it's trauma, whether it's, something more like, self-actualization oriented. This is a huge piece of the puzzle. And for so many people, they don't even know that attachment exists, and that attachment work is really where the problem might exist in the first place. So if you don't have clean relationships, if you don't feel secure in relationship, you don't feel safe with people, you either feel anxious and worried about, relationships going sideways, or you are kind of avoidant of relationships and I don't need people and that kind of a thing, or some like complicated back and forth all over the place, you're going to want to work on that. And these really, I think, are the first few steps. And if you get this sorted out, right? If you get your lifestyle, you get whatever internal self-judgment cleaned up, you start to access more resource states, and you start to work on your attachment, I promise you that that's going to be a huge chunk of personal healing and personal growth, if not the entire thing for you. So these are the steps that I would take. These are the first 4 steps, more or less in the order I would take them. Again, I do think resourcing and attachment work could be kind of flip-flopped and you could get right to the attachment work. But eventually, if the attachment work is really hard going, you might need to feel more resourced internally to do that. So there's kind of a little bit of feedback loop there, but I hope you get my point overall here. These are the things that I see consistently when people come to me for coaching that they need help with, that need addressing, that generally need to happen in this order in order for people to really have a good kind of outcome and really have the transformation that they're after. So thought I'd offer that to you guys. Once again, as always, appreciating you and your time and your attention, and thank you for watching, and sending you much love wherever you are, day or night, across the world. I hope you're doing well. Take care.